Hi everyone. If you missed it, I was away this summer working on some shows. I was the Mad Hatter, I was Malvolio in Twelfth Night, and then I was Macbeth for one night only, where, yes, an entire bucket of blood got poured over my head after I was pied in the face. It was a great time, it was a great summer, and I got to hang out with an awesome cast of lovely people that deserve the double toil and trouble words that I'm giving their way. If you missed it, we hung out and talked about their board gaming experiences for a good couple hours. A couple of them had played a lot of board games before. A couple of them had only rolled tires in the yard, Daniel. But you should go check that out. They all ranked their games. That's my favorite sort of video to do. It's why I forced them to play different games all throughout the summer. But I didn't include my own ranking in that video because I knew I would do it in this one, and it was certainly long enough. So what I'm going to do is rank the 30 games that I played this summer and just have this as a little recap of the stuff I played, the highs and the lows, how a good game can end up at the bottom of the list, and how a previously loved gem can soar to the top. It was a really nice summer, and I loved spending time with all these people, and I tried to make it that I wasn't playing a lot of new games. Oh, I forgot something. I forgot to put something on the list. Well, I'm going to leave it off because there's a full review coming for that one. Anyway, that would be Assassin's Creed, where I finished up the campaign in the summer as well. Shout out to Griffin and Aaron. But yeah, some of my favorite games are at the bottom of this list, and some really strange ones that I didn't expect were at the top. And I think that's okay, and I think it's also important to recognize that, like, not every game will be a hit. And for me, it's often like the people who I'm playing with, I really want them to like and enjoy their time and have a wonderful time. And if my group is having a good time, if I can facilitate that, that's what makes me have a good. Of course, tons of people were having a good time playing this bottom of the barrel game, and it's still going to be bottom of the barrel. Skip Bow is something that I played a bunch with Renee's folks. And the reason why it's bottom of the barrel is because there's a better game that we played that is higher up on the list. That just, if you're looking for a card game, Skip Bow ain't it. You know, Skip Bow is like slow Dutch Blitz, and I love Dutch Blitz, but I don't love it slowly. It's fine. I'm not going to describe all the games to you. I'm not going to describe the sort of popular games to you, but Skip Bow is pretty easy. I'm going to describe this one. You have a hand of 5 cards, and you're going to put cards in ascending order and stacks in the middle from 1 to 10. That's it. And if you can do that, you can. If you can't, you put one in front of you that you can store for later. And your goal is to get through a stack of cards that's 20 cards or 30 cards or whatever by putting it in the list. And you have some wild cards, which you should hold on to. It's pretty low strategy. It's just like something to do. And it certainly was something to do. And so I enjoyed it as such. And I actually probably enjoyed it more, and it should be higher on the list, but I just couldn't bear to put Scram lowest. My next one was Scram, and I love this game. I absolutely love this game. Highly recommend it. Super good. Silver is also an amazing version of Scram. But we played this, and it's number 29 because I was grumpy. It's essentially what it is. I was grumpy throughout the game. Generally, it has been grasped more by Renee's parents, who we played it with, than it was this time. And that frustrated me. And it's an interesting thing, right? Like, this actually caused me to reflect a lot upon board game choices and like board game curation and the goal of a game. And so was the next one as well, because they both frustrated me for similar reasons. And I think both of them are exceptional games that I would be happy to play at any time. But I sort of wanted to play these games, you know, and I kind of thought I could push the envelope a little bit. People said, no, we're not really into them. Our brains aren't in the right space for them. But I said, I don't care. I can make you have fun. And I was sort of faced with my own hubris, as it were. And I could feel myself getting frustrated because it felt like people weren't engaged and people weren't trying. And here I was trying to share this thing that I was excited about. And I don't think it was for a lack of trying. It was just for like a lack of focus, let's say. But it really kind of gave me pause in terms of a really good reflection point of, oh yeah, I'm not going to suggest this game ever again. With these particular people. And also too, like, another time it would have been fine, so maybe I could suggest it again. But also too, that idea of why do we play games, and the purpose of being a rules stickler. You know, I think we could have played a version of Scram that was not the correct version, that was not the most fun version for me, but it would have been more fun for the group. And so that's an interesting thing to run up against. I'm always kind of like the rules person. I'm very aware of trying to make sure everyone stays on task and like keep the game moving. And I feel like that responsibility by being the one who introduces games to people. And I think at some point you just have to read the room. And if you don't read the room correctly and you're not doing things that are in service of the fun of everyone else, you're not really showing off board gaming in the most positive light, right? And you're not going to convert people to like games, and you're not going to convert people to be excited to play again. And you're just not going to have a good time, and you might as well just go to bed, you know, or play something different. And so in that instance, it probably would have been better to play Skip-Bo or something along the lines of Skip-Bo, which I didn't want to play because I played a bunch of it, and I wanted something different. But it was just a good reminder that you don't have to always be a rules stickler. Says the rules stickler. Yeah, so that was number 29. And it was a really good reflection point. It wasn't good in the moment. I was really grumpy, and I was just like very annoyed and upset. And there's no reason to get that upset over a silly little card game. There is a reason to get that upset when people aren't taking their turn in Sheriff of Nottingham. But again, like I faced that similar frustration. I was paired up. There were 6 of us, so I was on a team with Renee's nephew, who's 8, I think, something like that. And we weren't making the optimal plays, and that's fine. It's fine. But it was frustrating at a point. And what else was frustrating is that I was trying to like make sure yeah, it's fine. Well, I'm just doing it for the camera. It's really not fine. You should see me when the camera turns off. But yeah, I was trying to push forward the game, and I was like, okay, everybody needs to market phase, and I wanted everybody to have a good chance at succeeding. And for me, when I play games, like I try to win and I try to do well, but it shouldn't have bothered me so much that people were forgetting to do their market phase, right? That only sort of hinders them. But I just was trying to get everybody to grasp the game fully. And I think when I get up against that, when that grasping slips from my grasp, I worry that people won't have a good time. And then by doing that worrying, and by being overbearing, I then don't have a good time, and then I contribute not to the good time around the room. And I never want to do that. I never want to do that when I'm playing games. I always want to play, and I always want to have fun. So that's why these 2 are lower, because like there was just sort of a little frustration point. I'm sure we've all faced that. There's a couple ones up further on. Distilled, I got frustrated at one point, but it's still pretty high up because I didn't get that frustrated, and we all had fun. But yeah, I just think it was a good reflection that I guess I wanted to share, and that's why they are at the bottom. Next is Cribbage. That's number 27, I guess. We'll see if there's actually 30. I think there might be 29 though. So we'll see. Cribbage is great. Cribbage is a great, light, perfect cottage card game. Super easy to do. Love it with 2 players. Love pegging back and forth. Skunked people up the wazoo. Cribbage is a great game. I'll play Cribbage all the time at the cottage. Cribbage reminds me of my grandma, because I used to play it all the time with her. And yeah, it's just a really lovely card game. Super easy, nothing specific, but the other games are a bit better, I guess. And the game that is the sort of lightweight card game sort of king is 5 Crowns. It ain't, whose catchphrase is, it ain't over until the kings go wild. Or if you talk to Paul, ain't over till the kings go mental. Who is a national treasure. 5 Crowns is a really great cottage game. I think Dave brought it up in our cottage games video, which is where Bounce Off first originated, if you haven't seen that one. And I agree. It's like it's a very simple game. You start with 3 cards, and you got to make either a set or a run in those 3 cards. And the 3s are wild because you have 3 cards. Then you go 4 cards, and you got to make sets or runs with the 4 cards, and the 4s are wild, etc. And it's all random because there's wild cards, there's jokers, whatever you don't turn into a run or a set when somebody goes out. As you draw a card from the deck one after another and put it down face on the discard pile, you get the choice which one you want to do. Those count as points for you, and the person with the lowest points wins. It's a really nice, simple card game, and it is what we should have played instead of Scram. So that's that. This is a very shocking one to me that it is down so low, but I remembered why from the brilliant Ray in our video reminded me that we played this at more than 4 people, and it was chaos. Also, everybody hated it. So Dutch Blitz is really sort of low, and I think Dutch Blitz needs to be played again in the right circumstances. I guess it doesn't always hit. Dutch Blitz is in my top 10 games of all time, okay? And it is number 25 on this list, maybe because everybody hated it, but I think because of the larger player count. It gets a little bit more frenetic, and it doesn't scratch that Dutch Blitz itch for me as much as I like it to, and so that's why it is down lower from the astute observation, which I had completely forgotten about. I was like, oh, that's why people are rating it lower, because it was so crazy and we didn't play that much. We played at lunch, and it just was a wild and crazy time. Number 24 is Azul. Now, Azul goes hand in hand with a game that is number 4 up top, and I'm really excited to talk about that one. I guess I'll leave you all in suspense to give you a reason to sit through this ad. I don't know if there's going to be an ad there or not. I also don't know if you can hear popping of popcorn in the background, but if you can, hey, go get yourself a snack. Azul is the game that I often describe as like the perfect game for parents who don't like board games. And so one member of my cast, Jade, who was not in the video, she doesn't like board games. I think she falls into that category perfectly well. But we played one game and it sung, it hit for her. She really loved it. We played a couple rounds together one night, and I loved seeing her get it. And I was so proud of her. And I was so excited that she was enjoying herself, and I could see the little hints of her enjoying herself. This is a person who like refuses to play board games because she doesn't like it. And so like that other one got her hooked. And then I tried Azul. I was like, well, maybe this one will get you hooked. And it didn't get her hooked as much. And I thought that was really interesting because there's more of a progression in the one that's coming up. And there's less of an engine building here and more of like an abstract tile layer. And so it was a really great realization for me as well that like Azul isn't this hit all sort of thing. You got to think about the people's personalities. Do they like their own sort of puzzle? Do they like interacting with other people, right? Do they like that tension of a race, or do they like sort of maximizing their own insular experience? And I think depending upon the different personality styles, these two games can kind of work in those similar ways. And so Azul was just fine. And she was like, yeah, it's fine. I much prefer this other one. I was like, great, me too. So we played that a lot more. And that's why it's like super high up on the list. So it was nice to try out. I'm surprised it didn't work that well. But yeah, this is one where next we have Incan Gold at 23. Incan Gold we played again in the sort of Renee's family group, where this is a push your luck game where all it is do you stay in the temple to try to get more gems, or do you leave with your loot? That's it. You can choose to leave with your loot. You can choose to stay in the temple. This one was grasped pretty well. I think why this one falls a bit shorter is I think I might prefer playing this online because you don't have to divvy out the gems. Like the satisfaction of doing this on Board Game Arena and just going, hit me, hit me, hit me, which is what I often do when I'm playing Board Game Arena. I just say that to myself anytime I make a bad move. Hit me! Oh, hit me! No, you idiot! But I think like the quickness of it is very exciting on Board Game Arena, and you lose track of things a little bit more, which is fun. In person, it was still fun. People liked going in the temple or pulling back. But I also find this with push your luck games, and I'll talk about this with Raw a little bit later, is that if somebody goes on a run, like me, I just like to push my luck. And so I went on a run and I got a bajillion gems. Then afterwards, I also felt bad. Like it was kind of a deflating of the game when everyone's like, oh, I got 10 gems. I'm like, yeah, I got 42 because I stayed and I drew like an 18 and a 17. And so I think if we had played more rounds and like other people had won, that it might have been a better experience for everybody. But I think there's that tension there, and I think that's a teaching error on my part as well in terms of setting up the game a little bit more, making people aware that can happen. I think that could help the game survive a little bit more. I don't know what number I'm on. It doesn't matter, but I'm on this number, and it's Point Salad. Point Salad, we played this at lunch a couple times, and I still think it's a great game. Like, I really like Point Salad. Everybody who I played it with was like, we forget what this game was. All we remember is that it was stupid. And I think they enjoyed it when they were playing it. They just forgot it because we played it early on in the contract. But I think Point Salad is a really solid filler game. I think it is so good. I think it works for 2 to 6 players so effectively. And yeah, I just think it's a great fun game. I'll play this at any player count. I love how quick it goes. I love the randomness, but you feel slightly clever when your plans come to fruition. And if they don't come to fruition, then they don't. But yeah, I think Point Salad is great. So it's still on the lower on the list, but it's still a great game. Like all of these, I think are quite fun games. Like I really enjoy, well, except for Skippo, but I quite enjoy all of these games. And this is just how they fell in my own particular plays, and they kind of don't reflect my general view of them because, I mean, Scram was 29. So there you go. Point Salad is great. All right, next up we have Rear Window. Rear Window is a good game. I like Rear Window more than Mysterium. If I had my way, Mysterium would leave and Rear Window would stay. That's why Mysterium stays. Yeah, they're both fun. This was my first time where I got to be the director, which I'd never been the director before. Essentially, the director knows what all the answers are, and you're trying to convince or get the...
Life's hard enough without somebody lying to you.
I suppose that's true, isn't it? But the director has to give out clues for each window to indicate the person and their occupation. What I really like about being the director is that you get a hand of 8 cards and that's it. And so sometimes you're going to luck into things that make sense. So like here, this obviously makes sense because they're associated with the color, right? There's the color of all of these things, but only 4 of these things are right. I mean, I would guess all of these for what's out there. That's neat. But yeah, the director is giving clues and you only have those 8 cards. And you're trying to get them to guess the occupations and the people. And I really like that struggle of deciding what cards to use, what cards not to use. I think playing with people who are good at deduction games, I would immediately ramp up the difficulty. I would immediately play and shuffle in all the harder ones that exist because they're hard occupations because they're basically relationships. It's like, is in love with this person. And so it has a little bit more give and take there. But I really like that aspect of only having those 8 cards to work with. Rather than a Mysterium, you can kind of get rid of a bunch of cards and kind of cheat the system a little bit. And I also like the potential that the director is a murderer trying to give you false information. I think that gives a nice little bit of tension there. So Rear Window is a surprising, really nice game. It was pretty easy. We got it done pretty well. We won in the 3rd round. Like I'd gotten them to 8 and they'd guessed the 8. And so I think because of that ease, it didn't cook as much as like previous games where I felt that tension. It's really nice to find that tension because you don't want a game that's too easy, right? Or at least I don't. And yeah, that's what Renee wants. Speak for yourself, she said. But yeah, it was a fun game. Really happy that I got to be the director, and I was happy to show it off to Pat and Charisse and Amaka. So next up we have Coup. Coup is hitting middle of the pack. I love that Coup was Amaka's #1 game. Amaka and I played Coup every day for 4 months when we were doing a school tour back in 2018. And it was really exciting to just get to play Coup with Amaka again. I don't care who else was there. It didn't matter. I was just playing Coup with Amaka again. So it was just really delightful. And you know what? I'm going to bump it up one. I'm going to bump it up one in honor of Amaka's #1. Everybody else was like, Coup sucks. Coup is like the perfect filler game when you have people who like to bluff and who can play a bit quickly and who know the game. I think Coup really benefits from knowing the game and having everybody who has their bluffs readily available, and they can really just kind of cook and go around and be silly. And it's just a great game. It has jumped over Canvas. Canvas is below Coup. Yeah, I made that. That's my switch right now. Canvas is a great game. Canvas, we had a fun time. I played with Pat and Zach. And Zach, she earned so many points in our little voting stage. We have a house rule in Canvas, which I think should be implemented in every rule in Canvas, that you vote for the most beautiful art piece at the end of each round, or at the end of the game. You vote, say, okay, I like that art piece best, and you get an extra. Yeah, you have to present it. You have to present it and tell the story of it. And you're like, yeah, we'll give you a couple extra points. And so Zach really shone there because she was like, oh yes, this represents the othering of my trans journey. And I'm like, well, how can I not vote for that? But I didn't vote for that at the end. And that's what made me win the game. So
Paul's when he was like, This is the most who went outside, didn't check the weather. That one.
Yeah, I did forget that. Paul's, what was it? What did he say? Oh, a mouse who went outside but forgot to check the weather. And it was a beautiful story of a mouse who went outside and forgot to check the weather. I did forget that we played that with Paul, and he said that. It was pretty funny. But yeah, I love the concept of Canvas, and I've now purchased the Reflections expansion, which I'm excited to try, which just adds multi-sided cards and 2 rows of cards. You're just building these and trying to match symbols. The art doesn't matter, but then it matters a little bit when you have to present it. So it's a really fun game. Next up, I have Bananagrams. We're sitting around the middle of the pack here. Bananagrams, I love Bananagrams. I was so happy to get to play Bananagrams. I was so happy to get to play Bananagrams with people who love Bananagrams as well, and who thought that they could beat me. And who did beat me in some rounds. And so that was very thrilling to me, because I'm not allowed to play Bananagrams with most people because I'm annoying. And so I've since forgotten all the 2-letter words from my memory, but they're still in there somewhere. Bananagrams is just a really fun game, whether or not you win. I just find it so satisfying to the mind to be able to kind of mix up those tiles. And I love the constant rearranging of the crossword that happens as you peel and you slot things in and like shift things around. You get to feel so clever on a personal level. It's too messy, according to Renee, but I think you get to feel like it's like such a personal thing, because nobody knows what's happened, and it's not like you go through the description of like, oh, I had this word and then I broke it up into these 2 words at the end, because it's hard to remember as you're making those decisions really quickly. But I think it's just so fun. It's just such a great word game, and really deserves to be higher up in Board Game Geek. Like, I think people turn their nose up at Bananagrams a bit because, I don't know, they think it's a mass market game, but I think it's like a really solid, clever word game, and I have a lot of fun with it.
It ain't no letter jam.
It's better than letter jam. I like Bananagrams better than letter jam. Yeah, 100%. I would play Bananagrams over letter jam any day of the week. Although letter jam is a great game as well. There's lots of great games out there. Thinking about how many great games there are out there really brings peace and ease to my heart, which is nice. And thinking of things that wouldn't bring peace to my heart, well, we have Avalon up next. Avalon, I think in the bottom half.
What are you ranking? How much fun you had, or what your favorites are?
How much fun I have.
I know this is your rankings for the summer.
This is my ranking for the summer. Yeah, like Avalon is also in my top 10 games of all time, and I don't see it leaving that. I have to cut that part because I don't want to reveal.
Did I guess right?
It's close. It's pretty high up. Yeah, I had a really great time with that one. And I'm excited to talk about it when we get there. But Avalon is like number 17 right now. Avalon is a great game. I had no bad things to say about Avalon this time around. I think in other summers or in other instances, I've been at Avalon tables that have cooked a little bit more. But I still had a great time with Avalon, and I always will have a great time with Avalon. I think it just, like, we didn't end up playing it as much as we did the previous summer, and so I think that disappointed me, or it never got to that esteem at which it rose above the other social games. But yeah, it's a friggin' great game in terms of interacting. It's all nonsense, but it's fun nonsense. And then 16 is in a similar vein, is Shifty-Eyed Spies. We played my favorite games of Shifty-Eyed Spies this summer with the cast, because, I don't know, it just cooked. It did cook in a way that, like, Avalon wasn't cooking. Everybody was zoned in, everybody was laughing and having fun and winking at each other, which is just the real reason why I wanted to play it. I just wanted to be winked at. That's all. I just really wanted to be winked at. But yeah, Shifty-Eyed Spies was a great time. This was Daniel's number 1 in the video. I love that he loved it so much, and everybody just was laughing and looking around the table, and like a really great game to play at the bar, and was just really enjoyable. You know what? I'm going to bump this one up. I'm bumping this one up over the Red Cathedral.
Bump that up. That was the best game of Shifty-Eyed Spies I'd ever played.
Yeah. I know, so it's been hitting in the top half. It's now 15.
You're fickle as anything. Nobody should trust you.
Number 16 is the Red Cathedral. I played this twice. This summer because 2 people had requested it, my friend Pat and my friend Dorian, and so we played it I played it with Pat and Daniel, and I played it with Dorian and Rachel, and both times were great. It showed why it is a solid resource management game. It's a really great efficiency puzzle, and I think I've played it so much now that I'm starting to see some patterns. And I think it's because I've played so much of the base. I haven't delved as much into the expansion guilds, the little cards that are around the center that you get to interact with, these buddies. I usually play with the base ones because I don't want to worry about explaining other things and making it too complicated. Red Cathedral, have you played it? Yeah, Renee's never played it. It's great though. It still is really great. I think it was just, I don't know why this one's lower. I mean, it's not low. Like, these are all really good games. I had a really good time with them. It's just how they appear, the level of enjoyment, right? And normally with Red Cathedral, like, I think this is in my top 30, you know, or it's in my top 50 for sure. The efficiency of it is really good. It's like, but it's a really sort of gamer's game, I feel. No, I take that back. I think it's good for everybody because I've played this with people who are like, don't have any experience with board gaming and they loved it. Yeah, I don't know. I think we played this later on in the evening for one of them, and then we were rushed finishing the second one. I still think it's just like an elegant, beautiful game, but it just didn't have the highs. And I don't know if it can actually get the highs. Maybe that's it. I think Red Cathedral doesn't have that climax, and that's okay because it is so solid and just like meaty throughout. But if you feel like it's plotting it all, well, it's going to stay that way, right? So maybe that's it. I don't think there's ever going to be like a monumental, exciting moment in Red Cathedral, but I think you're going to have a really solid, fun time every time. And I think that's exactly what I had. So that's number 16. Shifty Eyed Spies is number 15. Number 14 is Reviving Kathmandu. I was really happy to get to play this. I played this with Dorian as well because he requested it, me to bring it. And it was great because I've had 2 copies of it because they gave me a copy for reviewing it. I've held on to my reviewer copy because I really like the game. And so it's nice to bring it to a friend's house, see that they enjoyed it, and then be able to give it to them. I like when people have a good time. I think it's the through line of this, but I can also have a good time as well. Yeah, Reviving Kathmandu is just a really nice, solid set collection game. There's a nice balance here. I have a full review of this if you're interested in it. You're bidding on cards. You're always going to get 2 cards, and you have chips from 1 to 5. And whatever you bid, you have to outbid anybody who beats you on the intersection. So if yellow bids a 5 and red bids a 4, then yellow's going to get both of these cards. But if yellow bids a 4 and red bids a 5, well, then red's going to get this card, and yellow's going to only get this card. And they'll get a random one from the top of the deck that are less flexible. And you're trying to build these big towers and pagodas and get the most points. You also want to save your number 5 because at the end you can trade whatever chip you don't use. You can get that many points, and so there's an interesting tension of, okay, I need to win this bid, but I want the points at the end, and finding that balance is really nice. So yeah, really like that one. Number 13 is going to be Cryptid. Cryptid is a great time. I played this with multiple people as well. We played a few rounds. The best round though was with Dorian and Colleen and Rachel. And we played a round where both myself, who's played it a bunch, and Dorian, who was first time playing it, were convinced we knew where the cryptid was after like 2 moves. It was on the second pass around, and there was this tension between us where I was like, I think I know where it is, and he was like, yeah, I think I know where it is too. And I didn't want to be the person who teaches the game and then solves it in round 2. That just feels completely unfair and stupid. But I was wrong. I didn't go for the solve, but if I had gone for the solve, I would have been wrong as well, which was great. So I loved that aspect of it. And then Dorian was right. And Dorian friggin' picked it out of thin air. It was like, I think it's right there because of this. And he thought he knew all of our clues. He was dead wrong with all of our clues, but he still managed to find the one spot at which it intersected. It was so fun feeling that tension and seeing that happen. And so we played like 3 rounds of that. And it was just like a really good time. A better time than when Daniel lied to us about every single one of his clues until we sussed him out. And he said, oops, sorry. Yeah, I made that mistake. And then he ended up winning the game. That mistake. And then he ended up winning the game.
I feel like Cryptid is just homework.
Cryptid, you got to find Bigfoot. Cryptid, you got to find Loch Ness.
Cryptid, you have to keep a sheet beside you and fill it out and write basically practically an essay.
Yeah, like a proper scientist. Well, you know what isn't homework, Renee? Number 12. Shuffleboard. I'm putting Shuffleboard on here. I love Shuffleboard. Pat was like, Shuffleboard, you can't include Shuffleboard as a game. Oh, is karaoke a game? No, because there's no scoring system in karaoke other than the raucous applause for me singing I'll Make a Man Out of You. Shuffleboard is the best part about going to Halifax. Second best part. The Resolutes Club. If you live in Halifax, go check out the Resolutes Club. It's a members only legion where you pay like $30 for the year. They got free shuffleboard, free pool, free darts. It's the best place in the world. It really is. It's so fun. It's a great place to be, and I love that it gives you an activity to do while you're out. And you can play board games there. I played a bunch of board games there. We played a lot of stuff there, like group games, as people had, beverages and whatever. So it was, really lovely. I love shuffleboard. It's like, it's curling without all the effort. And I also really love curling. So it works out. Shuffleboard is a fantastic game. If you're at a bar with a shuffleboard table, go play it. Stop talking to whoever you're talking to. They're not going to be as fun as the shuffleboard table. I can almost guarantee. Number 11 is going to be Rococo. Rococo, we played a very long 5-player game of this, but I still had a friggin' blast. And I felt like it went by pretty quickly, even though it was 4 hours. It was a new game for 3 people, and I think we were playing pretty quickly. We worked it out that each person's turn took them about a minute and a half to make the decision. There's just a lot of decisions to be made. Rococo is a great game. It is a beautiful game about making beautiful dresses. The cycle of the cards feels fun. There was a lot of tension. The entire board got filled up, which I'd never seen before because of a 5-player game. And so that was pretty exciting. And it's just a very satisfying game of hand building or pool building, essentially, because you're start out with 5 idiot tailors, and hopefully you can get tailors who do a little bit more special things as you go through. If you like the theme, I think this box is too expensive and overproduced, and the insert is absolute garbage trash, because we disagree with the production value, but the insert is garbage trash. Yeah, there's no spots for any like the expansion stuff. It's just pathetic. It really is pathetic, and everyone who was involved in that should be ashamed of themselves, and I hope you get a poor sleep tonight. But yeah, really still enjoyed playing the game. I think it's only the length of time that drops it a little bit. I would prefer this not at 5 players, I think. Best at 3, it says in the community. And I would probably agree with that. Not recommended at 5 with 53% of people. It's not bad. But 3 feels like it might be the sweet spot. I like it with 2 to 4, though. Yeah, true. It depends if you know it. I'm not coming for Rococo. It's 11 out of 30. I'm not coming for it. But you know what I am coming for? Rah! I'm coming for glory with Ra. Ra's number 10. Ra is... Oh, I love Ra. I just desperately love Ra. Thinking about Ra's like a nice, relaxing bath. Ra, I talk about Ra a lot on this channel. Ra is just so elegant in its design. However, it does have the same issue as Incan Gold, in which somebody can take a commanding lead, just do the push your luck at the very beginning, and then that can kind of take the wind out of its sails for the game. And I think that happened a little bit here. I went on a really big run at the beginning because everybody went out pretty early, and then we hadn't had enough raw tiles drawn, so I was able to scoop up a lot of points, and then everyone was kind of clawing back from there. And I think whenever you take a commanding lead, or whenever a game has the potential to have that commanding lead happen, it can deflate the sails, it can deflate the tension from the game. So I can see the flaws of it, but I still I really like the game. And look, it's even being advertised, the Pharaoh Edition. Just would have finished up on Kickstarter recently, or is finishing up. You can late pledge for it, though. Highly recommend. There's this edition from 25th Century Games. Looking at the previous editions, it just takes it to a whole nother level. It's like an expert. It's a masterclass it really is, in redesign, in re-implementing, in reproducing, in re-releasing. That's the word that I was looking for. So Ra comes in at number 10. Number 9, this was Pat's number 1 game of the summer, and this was probably Renee's number 1 game of the summer. This is Chinatown, because it was Renee's first and only win of the game.
Oh my god, I won?
You won. You forgot?
Yes.
Yeah, you won. Yeah, you won by like $20,000, and because Pat made that bad deal with you, and if Pat hadn't made the bad deal, Pat would have won.
It's really hard because I also really liked Rococo. But I was really frustrated with Rococo because I didn't get to see the Queen or go up to the fireworks.
Yeah.
I forget how that happened.
You didn't have the money. But you did have the money in Chinatown and won with over $1 million. Chinatown is a great, fun negotiation game. You need to put a timer on the negotiations that is an absolute must, an absolute necessity. But all it is it's just trading. It's like, hey, I got this spot with a factory, and you need a factory. Why don't you trade it to me? I'll give me $200,000 for it because you're going to make $480,000 with it. Okay, yeah, sure, perfect, great, let's split it. But you also have to give me that section over there and throw in an extra one of your tiles. And they say, yeah, sure, anything is on the table to be traded, and it's just a whole 6 rounds of bartering, wheeling, and dealing. And if you set a timer for like 5 minutes per round, it's like a really great sweet spot. Great negotiation that happens. It was a really fun time. We had a good 4-player game of this, and the time pressure stops you from being able to sort of math everything out, which this game could suffer from. So yeah, really great. Chinatown's number 9. Number 8 is Distilled. I'm really high on this game. I'm going to do a review for this pretty soon, I think, because I think it's a really good production. I think it is emblematic of a company, a first-time company, really knocking it out of the park in all aspects. The theme integration is great. I got to play this with Matt, who is a bartender as well as an actor who loves like bartending. That's one of his passions. And so I was like so excited to get to introduce him to it. And he really loved it. It was his number 1. And yeah, I was just like really, really stoked that it went over well. It was a bit, Daniel had a couple struggles, but again, it was like 1 a.m. We'd just done a show, like a full day. And Daniel's sort of a newer gamer as well. And so some of the parts, it kind of dragged a little bit, but for the most part, everybody was engaged throughout. It was a good time. And I just think it's a really solid game, a really good production. If you like markets, that's what I would say. There's just this big market that you have to decide what you buy and what you don't. And then you make your spirit the action of mixing up your stuff and pulling 2 cards out and seeing if you made the correct thing or seeing if you made moonshine again. A really solid game. I like it a lot. Number 8. Number 8 almost feels too low, but we got some great games up here. Number 7 is Dune Imperium. We played a Dune Imperium game, myself, Pat, and Matt, while another crew was playing Cascadia. And I love that. I love when when the George board game cafe is open and we can have multiple tables. I really love that when people are playing, and just, I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful, fun evening. But it was great to play Dune Imperium. Every time I play this game, I like it more and more. There's a reason why it's number 6 on Board Game Geek. Like, it goes up there with me, and every time I delve into it, I haven't had a bad time with this game, and I still have it. Even if the game takes like 5 hours, which it did once, and it was excruciating, I still had a great time with the game. There's such a awesome balance, such a depth to the strategy. Again, one that I'm so thrilled working for WSBG introduced me to, because it's been a highlight. Yeah, it really is. It's so much fun, and I love introducing this game. I love playing it with new people, and I love finding the balance between, going for battles or not. I didn't win any battles this time. I went pure Spice Must Flow. I didn't get my 3rd agent ever. I just went Spice Must Flow, and I just went for like reveals, and I was able to pull out on top, and that was exciting because I never tried that strategy before. Usually I'm like really heavy into the battles, so that was pretty fun. Yeah, loved playing that. That was number 7. Number 6 was Tigris and Euphrates. I just played a 2-player game of this with Pat. Really still love this game. I was happy to get it to the table. There's a great dynamic flow of this game, and when it's head to head, it just cooks in a real tactical way. I love the balance between waging wars to scoop up handfuls of points and like decimating the board versus just like making that dominant structure where you can just always get those points coming into you at the end. There's a lot of fun to be had here. A very simple game, although a little bit complex in terms of getting your footing, in terms of how the battles are waged and what is a war versus what is a revolt, right? A conflict or a revolt. It's a bit confusing for the first time going through, but it's worth getting through, and once you get it, you get it pretty easily. Yeah, it's a real solid game, a huge testament of design, and it was fun. Number 5 is, I have 3 new games in the top 5. That shows you how I like new experiences. Yeah, I think all of my new games are up here. Let me see, is there anything else that I never played before? No, I played everything up until this point. I am a new game I like new games, but these new games really worked. And there were other new games that we didn't end up getting to the table because I didn't think that they would work. But number 5 was Adventure Party. Adventure Party, I'm surprised that this is this high up. I'm really surprised because I don't normally like storytelling in my games because it feels too much like work, honestly. I'm like, I do that at my job. I don't want to do it in my playtime. But I think there's a real delight here, a real possibility for a lot of different people to enjoy this game. And just playing it, we had a really fun time at the bar playing this game, watching everybody get zanier and zanier, watching me be just completely horrible about it. I rolled a 16 and people guessed like 8 because the premise of the game is that you describe what you're going to do in a specific scenario of like a D&D adventure. If you're the necromancer, I was the necromancer. I think I was Spooky Betty, the necromancer. That was my character. And I was like, okay, Spooky Betty's gonna go and summon this golem and like make this huge skeleton their little bench and make all the other skeletons bow down to them. I'm a friggin' necromancer and we're in the middle of a skeleton horde. How can this not work out for me? And so I rolled like a 16. I was like, yeah, I go up there, I punch him in the jaw, and he goes up and he slams down on my head. But all the skeletons see that I'm really impressive. But I dislocate my shoulder and I think about all the childhood trauma that I had. And then I got a little bit too carried away with all my childhood trauma because I thought it was funny. And then I had Spooky Betty just revisit her childhood trauma, which turned her into a necromancer for the whole game. It was just stupid. It's just stupid fun. Like if you want to improvise, if you want to just see what happens. Spank Flackstrom was the MVP trying to take a little peep at Medusa there and turned into stone. There was just some funny stuff, like a lot of funny stuff that happened. There was a lot of laughter. It is sort of a nice core memory of the summer. It really was. It was just like a delight, a real delight. And so it was wonderful that this was that I got to play it. And so I'll do a review for this for sure, a full designated review for them. But yeah, I think it's a great game. And I also think that there are people out there who will absolutely hate it if you don't like storytelling. And you really have to be in the right mood. Like you have to just buy in. If you're unable to buy in, like it requires an effort of buy-in to make work. But if you're in that mood, it can be something really cool. So yeah, I really liked it a lot. I had a lot of fun. That's number 5. Number 4, I'm going to change right now because I'm moving one up. Number 4 is Modern Art. Modern Art, I had never played before. It's a Reiner Knizia that I'd never played before, so I was really happy that Pat brought it. And Modern Art is essentially just 5 ways to bid on things. That's it. You're bidding on these paintings. Someone's going to put a painting forward and they're going to be like, okay, now this is a silent auction or this is a real auction. And that was my favorite because then I could just be the auctioneer and go, hey, 5,000, 5,000, who wants a 5,000, who wants a 10,000, who wants a 10,000, and get really into the auctioning. But I just love the varied way of bidding for things. And I love how when it comes down to it, like Pat was saying in the recap, you are bidding points in the hopes that you get more points back. That's what it is. You're paying money, and it's the person with the most money at the end of the game wins. And you're investing in your future as well in terms of the future artists that are going to be worth more and more, and trying to control that limited economy that's just circling around. It is a really fun, solid design. I think, in general, I think I like Raw better as a pure bidding game, but I really, really enjoyed the play of Modern Art. Probably because it was new and because there was fun around the table and I got to be a big auctioneer and like, yeah, it was just a great time. So again, I'm rating it not on like the game itself, but on the experience that it was able to provide. And so Modern Art for sure is up there for me. Number 3 is Splendor. Good old Splendor. This is the one that Jade loved. The person who did not like board games loved. And that's not the first time that this has worked on members of the cast. When I was in, where is that? Bruce County Playhouse or something? I forget where that is. Near the Bruce Peninsula? I don't know. It's somewhere. But when I did one of the New Gamers Ranked New Games, Splendor was super high up because we played it a ton. We played like 10 games of it because people just like resonate with it. I remember playing games when I started in this hobby and playing Splendor and just really resonating with it and being like, oh, this is such a fun efficiency puzzle. Like, this is such a fun thing to do. And I'm just so happy that it really resonated with Jade, who does not play board games. Like, she adamantly doesn't play board games, and she did it just to like do something with me. And the fact that it like resonated with her, and then we got to play it with myself, Renee, Jade, and Drew, and then Jade beat me, and then Drew beat me, and it was the most devastating day ever, because I just lost croquet that day. So just a horrible time all around. No, some good things happened that day. But I just loved seeing people enjoy this game, which was so pivotal in my own board gaming journey, and like seeing it click, and seeing somebody who like adamantly says they don't like board games really enjoy a board game that wasn't like a co-op. She was like, yeah, I like co-ops. I like sort of part of your games. Like, but yeah, it was so exciting to me. So exciting. And I just had such a great time with it, and it friggin' hit. And it is hit before, and it will hit again. Don't sleep on Splendor. It's a great game. Oh, it stresses me out. The moment we started, I'm like, oh no, I'm behind. Like, I can see where I'm behind. I can see when I screw up. But I just, yeah, I really, because I think I'm very good at Splendor. I've only lost like, I don't know, in my app, I have like 25 plays of it, and I only lost 3 or 4, and 2 are because of this summer. Oh. I mean, I've lost more than that before I started recording plays, like, let's be clear. But yeah, it's just, I've just got so excited about it. I love when things click with people, and this one did, so of course it brings me great joy. Now, number 2 is, and that's a good tie-in, because number 2 came out of nowhere. I didn't think I would like this as much as I did, but I think it's friggin' great, and that's The Hunger. The Hunger is Clank. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is a Clank ripoff. I know what it's going to be. It's going to be fine, but Clank will probably be better because everybody says that Clank's better. This is its own thing. It's its own DNA. When only drawing 3 cards feels so punishing in terms of the amount that you can get done. And that's the point too, because you only have 15 turns to leave your castle, crawl through the streets, right? Leave your castle here, run all the way around, get to the town, and even get to the forest to eat as many humans as you can, and then make it back to the castle. And if you don't make it back to the graveyard, you die. Like, it's so much more punishing than Clank, which is like, hey, you can always be alive if you're just in the top half of the board, but you just like straight up die if you don't make it back there. And I love that 5 of us died, and all 6 of us would have died if Eliza didn't have this one token where she just got to take an extra turn and was like, oh, I didn't know that's what that did. Okay, I take an extra turn, and just made it to the graveyard. I love that there are these, what really burned me was I ate too many confused people, or drunk people, which made me confused and wander away from the castle. So I was like desperately struggling to get back to the castle, and then I would draw these confused people and be like, walk 4 steps away. Like, I traveled the least out of anyone because I was just always trying to clamber back, because I had so many sort of endgame scoring points that I gathered which related to those specific types of people. And so it's a really, really fun game, a really great take on that Clank, push your luck, like run to the end and come back. I had so much fun with it. I got this for $10 at KublaCon. If you see this on sale, go and get it. Like, I really enjoyed my play of it, and I'm very excited to play again. And we played it at 6 people. We played with 6 people. I said, okay, we're playing with 6 people, but we're playing like a little bit of a meatier game. It took us, I don't know, 2.5 hours or something. It was a fairly short game, but we had to explain deck building to some people who had never played games with deck building before. It was just, it was so great. So great. Just thinking about it makes me happy. I didn't think that it would be this good, and I'm super stoked that I bought the copy when I saw it on sale, because I saw it on sale and I was like, yeah, I think I would like this. And it's always very validating when I think I would like something and then I do like it. But yeah, it was a really fun time and fun deck management. And I can see a lot of potential there that I still have yet to explore. And then finally, number 1 is a bit boring, but it's my truth. It's Rising Sun. I got to play a great game of Rising Sun. I've been wanting to play Rising Sun with my friend Drew for the longest time, because he was the person who got me into board gaming. He introduced Catan to me. Drew, who directed 12th Night. So I knew our board gaming preferences are pretty aligned, although he's pretty busy and doesn't play as many games as he would probably like to. But I knew that he would friggin' like it, and he had a blast, and I think everybody around the table had a good time. Well, Pat, Amaka, and Matt were the other 3 people to play. Matt ranked at number 2, Pat ranked at number 3. Amaka, who said that they would never play it ever again, and that they hated it, ranked it as number 4 on their list. And so just seeing everybody have such a good experience, I had a great Only a Spite play. I really led into the spite because Matt was annoying me. And so I tore him down and ripped all of the points from his little grasp. And that was very satisfying. Yeah, it was a really fun game. I'm so happy that I got to introduce it and play it with Drew. Pat got to play it again for the second time because he played it last summer too, and I knew Matt would like it as well. And Amaka had played the very first game of Rising Sun with me way back when we were doing our show. That was when Rising Sun delivered in 2018, and so, but of course, like they didn't really remember, obviously, because it was 6 years ago and one time for this complicated game, but they kind of remember. So yeah, it was just a really great group of people to share my favorite game of all time with. Rising Sun is my number 1 game of all time for sure. I just love it. I love it so much. I had so much fun. There was a great back and forth. It was nice when everybody was teaming up, and yeah, it was just like a really lovely time and a really great time to get to share that with people who I care about. So there we go. That's my recap. That's my recap of the summer. It was a great summer. I was really proud of the work that I did as an actor, and I was very proud that I didn't let people play games more than once so that I could make a little recap video and make sure my numbers were up high. One thing that in the recap video, everyone was like, hey, oh yeah, we were playing Cockroach Poker, and Chris, we realized, we remembered that we can't trust Chris. Chris would lie to us. You notice Cockroach Poker wasn't on this list because I didn't play it. I didn't say that in the video because I didn't want to derail them. They're like, "Oh, we can't trust Chris." But I didn't play it. I watched because there were 6 people who wanted to play it, and I wasn't going to take a spot. Like I love just watching games and teaching it and watching them. I have almost as much enjoyment, sometimes more. But yeah, I watched that game, so I was gaslit throughout that whole video. But I'm glad that it felt like I was playing as I was excited and involved with them. I don't know. I gotta organize that shelf. Thanks for hanging out. It was nice doing a little recap of the summer. It was a very special summer for me. It's one of those casts where like everything is just like really working, and so it's always really nice to be with, and it's great to be able to hang out with people outside as well. And of course, not every game hit. Not every game's gonna hit, but what matters is that we can share time, we can share space, and we can hopefully spend our time in positive, fun, and happy ways. So I hope that for you as well, moving forward, in whatever games you're going to be playing. I just hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. As always, I'm Spank Flaxbottom. Well, no, I'm Spooky Betty, and I don't know, catchphrase. But Spooky Betty is the cousin to another necromancer who I played, Creepy Toe, way back when I was playing Dungeon World, who was a very fun necromancer who would rip off his toe and eat it. And so I could eat it, and it would nourish me, and then my toe would grow back. It was a weird thing that I could do. Or I could feed it to my party and nourish them, and they also would have a random magical effect happen. So I turned somebody's skin to glass by accident because he was going to die of starvation otherwise. It did not bode well for our party. That ended in disaster. However, Creepy Toe was there. So Spooky Betty was a cousin to Creepy Toe, and I need you all to know that. Thank you.